Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Caroline Colas, and I am the Senior Director of Health and Wellness for the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan, and your moderator today on the Positive Psychology Hour, a series that we have been doing in partnership with the Whole Being Institute since the pandemic began, which is 3 years this month. Today, we're going to be talking about books that inspire resilience with two amazing psychologists who have been with us before. Gerard Meyer, Ph.D., who is a physiopsychologist and the founder and CEO of the Mental Wellness Society. And with he and his colleague, Robert Leibovitz, have developed the mindful choice system through research at the Carnegie Mellon University. This new approach is for personal effectiveness and flourishing, even in times of great crisis. And it was built upon the evidence-based strategies of positive psychology and choice theory. It's particularly powerful in providing the tools for managing stress and building resilience, which is what we're going to talk about today, and solutions-focused strategies that are easy to use and immediate in their effectiveness. Dr. Sherry Kelly is a clinical psychologist and clinical neuropsychologist. She practices in New York and Connecticut. She serves as the chair of the Parenting and Education Group for the Mental Wellness Society. She's also the co-chair of the Connecticut Psychological Association's Child and Family Committee and the 2022 recipient of the association's Distinguished Psychologist of the Year. Today, they're going to talk about books that have inspired generations of readers to find hope, cope with adversity, navigate uncertainty, and create meaning in their lives. They're going to discuss these books and how they've inspired them and how they've provided mental health support to people around the world during times of uncertainty and crisis. I'm hoping they'll also take a moment to tell us just about the work that they've been doing in Ukraine and all over, really. And I just wanted to welcome them both. I'm going to put them on the spotlight. Here is, I just lost Gerard for a second. Gerard, where'd you go? Let me find you.
He'll be back.
There he is. Okay. All right. There we are. Thank you both for joining me today. I find it fascinating. I don't know if anybody else does, to hear what the books are that have inspired or have motivated or impacted psychologists like yourself. So I thank you for joining me today and for sharing with us on this topic.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting us.
It's great to be here again. Thank you, Caroline.
So go ahead and take it away.
So let me share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Good. So we are going to speak about the book Inspiring Resilience. Sherry and I, we are officers on the Mental Wellness Society that we created 3 years ago at the very, very, very beginning, first week of COVID. And now we are over 2,000 experts in 72 countries. And we are growing. We do also research. We do validation. We have a lot of activities. But let's come back to the book. And then at the end, if time gives us permit, we will be able to explain a little bit much more. So books about resilience. If you ask me, and that's funny because today is Purim, if you ask me what is my book who inspires the most about resilience, I would say the Megillah of Esther, which is for Purim, because the whole story is how the Jew went from to be annihilated, all killed, to victorious, and thanks to Queen Esther. So the Megillah of Esther that we have been reading last night and today is an important book. But professionally, I never speak about Torah, because I could also give you some citation in Torah which apply to resilience. There is some good lessons to take there. So we choose to speak about other books. And it's very funny because Sherry and I, we choose the same book. And there is a reasoning behind that for psychologists. So we both choose about the search for meaning from Dr. Frankl. And Sherry, I think you want to speak about at this point about your quote about the book, which are meaningful to you.
Thank you, Gerard. It's really interesting that Gerard and I chose the same book. And, you know, people, you know, have been reading Dr. Frankl's book since it was published just shortly after World War II, 1945-46, and then it was published in America a little bit later. So one of the things that Dr. Frankl addresses in the book, Man's Search for Meaning, which is the book that inspired both Gerard and myself, is his discussion about happiness and how do you become happy? And what are the things that make you happy? What he has said here in this quote, that it happens with one's dedication to a cause greater than oneself. And this is very true. And so, you know, almost, I would say, you know, over the past 25 years, neuroimaging and neuropsychology has actually shown how this happens in the brain. And that when someone puts their heart into being grateful for someone else, dedicating themselves to a cause greater than themselves, their brain actually lights up in a specific area. So I thought that I'd start with this passage because that's something that I think those of us who are happy have found in life. Do you want to go to the next one? Okay. And this is, you know, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist and neurologist in Vienna before World War II. And he stayed and did not take advantage of the visa he was granted to go to America because he wanted to be with his parents. He wanted to help with his elderly parents and not go to America. And so he made that choice to do what was right for him. So that is the backstory of Dr. Frankl, and he survived the concentration camp. He'd been in a couple, lived through Auschwitz, then he was transferred to another concentration camp near Dachau. So you can see, you know, this is the most crucial quote that stuck with me since I first read this book at age 17. You know, the last of human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Okay. That is so integral to what Gerard has built with mindful choice system. And I know he'll talk about this also, this quote. Do you want to add, Gerard, or do you want to go on?
No, we'll talk later about choice. But
Okay,
it's a very important thing because and I will steal your thunder. If you don't see a choice, you are in dysfunction. And we'll talk more about that later with Sherry.
Okay.
Next slide.
Yes. Yep. So it's this choice that you make to not respond in a way, to not lose yourself, to decide what your attitude's going to be. It's this spiritual freedom which cannot be taken away that makes life meaningful and purposeful. Okay, next slide. This is another thing that was really inspiring for me. A man who lets himself decline because he could not see any future goal found himself occupied with retrospective thoughts. We have a lot to say about this. But what was inspiring to me initially when I first read this was that you must have a goal. You must know your destination. You must know where you're sailing towards. I used to sail growing up in Minnesota because there's 10,000 lakes there. So, not having a goal, not having a destination in mind is really like sailing a boat and you don't know where you're going. You don't even have a rudder. So every wave that hits you is going to have greater magnification on your little boat, and it's going to make you feel like you're going to topple over. Gerard, what should we do the next slide? Thank you. So what he saw in the concentration camp was this, that those who lost faith in the future was going to be doomed for them. With the loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and became subject to mental and physical decay. I see this in my practice with my clients, that those who can't see a future, that have no goals, are in great dysfunction. And that the way to help them get out of the spiral they're in, the vortex that they're in of depression, is to be able to see a future, a destination that they can aim themselves towards. Okay, next slide. Is that you?
I will add something.
Thank you.
Our research shows that it goes further, because what you see here is somebody who cannot take a positive outcome on the situation or in life. There is a difference between a tough situation on life. And that was what Dr. Frankel explained. Don't let the situation define who you are. You are who you are, and you are who you want to be. So you need to keep a positive outcome on who you are, no matter what. On that, our team have been able to show that if you have a positive thought, it changes your physiological outcome.
Absolutely.
So that tie in with what he's sharing about mental and physical decay. The mental and physical decay come because of what you choose to think and to feel. And that, I will place that now about mindful choice. We say in mindful choice, if I can change the way I think, it will change the way I feel and I behave. So the strength of changing the way you think will automatically, if you can learn that, and that is an attitude. You are not born knowing that. You need to work and to learn that. That's why coach could be useful.
This is, Gerard, before you started, this is what is so inspiring about man's search for meaning. Okay, because he wrote about how he had an attitude shift to survive. And that's so much of his story, so much of the book. And that, there was 3 things that you could control, that he could control: his attitude, his preparation, and his effort each day. And that's what he was in control of in the impossible situation. So I'll throw it back to Gerard. So this compassion, this understanding of what your responsibility is towards humanity, towards other people, helps one to realize the why for his existence. And if you understand the purpose and meaning of your life, if you create the meaning of your life, determine what your meaning in life's going to be, you can bear almost any how your life is unfolding, what's happening around you. It's, again, understanding that destination and assigning meaning to what has happened and what you're going through.
Let's precise one thing about why. here you are talking about the big why.
Mhm.
Why for its existence mean why God put me on this earth? What is my mission? What should I do? But the first question is why, and after that you ask what. And in our psychology intervention, we are one of the very, 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 very few psychologists to explain clients that with us, we don't work on asking them 20 times in a session, why you think this, why you
Why do you
feel
feel that?
that. Because they don't know. If they knew, they will not come to see you. And why is a blame game. So you don't ask why, you ask what. What is happening to you? What are your possibilities? What do you think you can do to end up better in that situation? So the only time in your life you ask why is a very spiritual question or metaphysic question. One time, why I am here? Why I am in existence? At that moment, you have a mission and you have a meaning. But after that, you never ask why. Why it happened
No.
to me? Why this? Why that? No. What is happening to me? What can I do? So
Yes,
we go,
and I was
go
just
on.
going to say, Gerard, this is integral because in the system that the mindful choice system that Dr. Meyer and Dr. Leibovitz created, you really are utilizing one of the best tools coming out of cognitive behavioral therapy and positive psychology. You're deploying behavioral activation. Okay. And so you will see this. I use the, I'm playing the what, not why game with my clients of all ages. And you can ask yourself the big question, what is this telling me? What is this feeling alerting me to? You get more answers when you ask the what. And that helps you move to forward. What can I do about this now? And it empowers you. It gives you more of a sense of control when you ask the what rather than the why. Gerard, somebody asked a really important question in the chat, and I know you're going to get to that. So you want to move to
So
the
I guess
next slide?
he's the main guy, Gerard somebody. So he sounds French.
Okay. So how do you know you are doing the mission you were put on this earth? It's a great question because number one, you ask the question. The fact you ask the question and you don't continue by why this happened to me, then you say, what should I do? What can I do? What are my choices? What are my possibilities? And many times we explain our clients, there is a difference between your journey and your destination. Why is really achieving during your life what you have been made for to do.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you can change. One day you go by plane, one day you go by car, one day you take the scenic road, one day you take the highway, but you can change your journey, and that's what you can choose. That you can choose. And that's free choice. But what you are made for is something for which you like it, number one. Number two, you are gifted to do it. Number three, you do it better than anybody else. And that's something which gives you pleasure. Now, if it does not give you pleasure, if you feel you are not cut to do that, it's not your call. It's not what you are here for. So that's the way you know. Now, the next question is there any way to increase your volume just to talk a louder voice? I can hear Dr. Kelly clearly, but it's trying to hear you. I'm sorry, my mic is up at the maximum. I can try without microphone. I can try without microphone. You tell me if it works better.
So I was gonna.
Is it better for you now? Can
Yes,
you hear me better?
yes, I think so.
Okay, so we'll do it this way. No problem.
Carolyn, is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
So I just wanted to dovetail on what Gerard was saying. I worked for many years doing research with children and young adults who had survived what was once a fatal illness. Their life expectancy was 13, and I followed them from childhood through adulthood, the survivors. And the thing that was a loading factor in the research I did with them was that they had a destination, they had goals. We call that future orientation. Dr. Frankel kept thinking of what his goal was. His goal, his destination, and his dream, if you will, was that one day he was going to be in a lecture hall, and even described the lecture hall. It would have like velvet seats, and that he would be giving a lecture about his experience in the concentration camp and what he learned about it in terms of human resilience.
Very
I
good.
find that, yeah.
Very good, because what you think, and we many times we explain, you end up where you look. And also our team have been able to demonstrate scientifically this. You end up where you look. And basically, what does that mean? You are making a self-prophecy depending of what you are thinking. What imagery you have in your mind is becoming a self-prophecy. And if you have a positive imaging, it will be positive. But if you have a negative imaging in your mind, a negative thought, automatically you will go the down spiral.
All right.
Okay, we continue with the program,
Yes.
Sherry?
Yep. Next.
Next is
Yeah.
speaking about VUCA.
It's hard to hear the sound.
Pay attention to the word. Sound are not important to you.
So it was created in 1950, the concept of VUCA by the Army in United States. And it was basically during the Cold War, because everything could change on a push of a button. And it was affecting economy, it was affecting everything. But it did not become so important since the success of the global village. And the global village have taken all the barrier of protection of country, of manufacturing, of artisan jobs, a lot of things have changed. And now, in 15 hours after COVID starts, you have it in America, it comes by a plane. Few minutes after there is a catastrophe, you see it on the social media. And people see, for example, the World Trade Center, a plane going in the World Trade Center, and many people commit suicide as a consequence of that. And so on and so on. In other words, there is exterior things affecting us. On resilience, I am part of a group of 50 researchers worldwide called ResWell. And we have found that the resilience of a country changed by difference of region, different city, different place. And it goes by the culture and it goes by the people. If you want a resilient society, you need resilient individuals. And there are individuals which are not lamb, but they are all leaders of themselves. They know how to protect them. It starts by protecting yourself, like in a plane. When there is a problem, you put the mask first on you, and then you help others. It is a concept of resilience. So I wanted to take what in Dr. Frankel we learn, which is applicable today in our VUCA world. So here is one. In VUCA world, the people are struggling to cope with the psychological and emotional impact of this rapidly changing environment. It creates psychological problems. There is worldwide, I say worldwide, a COVID PTSD, but people don't look at it that way. But the consequence of COVID for the one who got it or the one who did not get it, the one who were not able to go to the office or whatever. There is worldwide a COVID PTSD. And there is more than that. There is also a PTSD about the economy and the recession, about the war in Ukraine, and all come together now. It's not you choose to deal with this. No, you deal with everything on the flip of one day, and you don't know how to adapt. This type of environment can cause people to feel overwhelmed and as they constantly and anxious, as they are constantly trying to navigate and make sense to their surrounding. That's every day. Another one, the lack of clear direction and security can also lead to feeling of stress, burnout, even PTSD. And as people grapple with the overwhelming nature of the environment, they don't know what is coming. They don't know where it's going. They don't know. And you'll need to learn to know, to navigate, not to navigate. You need to learn to live in a world that you don't necessarily understand. So like Frankel, what you can understand is what you can do, what you choose to do. And that's the only things where you have a handle and you can make a change. So you can choose to be a chooser, or you can choose to be a follower. But nobody is born a loser, and by definition, but you can choose to follow others or be a chooser. And that's an attitude, very important attitude in life that Sherry and I, we share with our clients. Additionally, the unpredictable nature of VUCA world can lead to obsessive behavior as people attempt to gain a sense of control over their circumstance. It becomes an obsession. What do I do? Do I keep my money? I keep my money at home. Who knows? My bank might close. On this, on that. Or I shop a lot because we don't know if there will be food in my home, in my shopping center. All these, many things. But you see a lot of obsessive behavior lately. By the way, if you need to see a psychologist, I mean, if you have something which needs to be treated, a psychologist cannot prescribe you medication. So you need to see a psychiatric doctor, which is an horrible word. And then there is a stigma to go to see a psychiatric doctor just to get some pills. But you have to wait 3 months, 4 months, 5 months now in America before you found a new psychiatric doctor who can accept you, because there is a bottleneck. Too many people have too many problems at the same time. And that's part of the aggravating factor. All of these factors contribute to an increase in anxiety, panic, PTSD, obsession, stress, and burnout. You will see that we keep anxiety out of that. Of course, it creates anxiety, but we have found that we can help very easily. There is different strategy for that to help people with anxiety, PTSD, panic, obsession, stress, burnout, which are related to stress. But at the moment you go on something like depression, it's more serious, and it's something which really requires professional assistance. So we kept it out of that example purposely today. So Dr. Frankel was Austrian. He was a psychiatrist and neurologist. He survived Holocaust, as said Sherry, and he founded the School of Logotherapy. He came up with that concept in concentration camp. Still today, it's a very important current of psychology. And it's based on the belief that the motivational primary force in human being is a search for meaning in life. As long as you search, you don't give up. And if you don't give up, you don't lose. At the moment you don't know, you don't search, you hesitate, that is a different problem. which is, by the way, every mammalian have only 3 ways to react: flight, freeze, and flight, freeze, and fight, flight, freeze. I'm sorry, flight, freeze. But this is a primal way of reaction that every mammalian have. We are mammalian. So the idea is to help people to use the prefrontal cortex, where you have cognition and decision-making. And very, very few decisions in your day is based on that part of the brain by automatism. So that's the work we do to help people to become a better version of themselves. 5 most important takeaways from Dr. Frankl pertaining to our everyday living in VUCA world: volatile, uncertainty, complex, ambiguous. I show you. 1, cultivate a sense of purpose. According to Frankl, having a sense of purpose and meaning in life is essential to mental health and well-being. 2, this can help us stay grounded and focused even in the midst of uncertainty and chaos, or concentration camp. Take some time to reflect on what gives your life meaning and purpose, and try to align your action and decision with those values. You see, you need to reflect of what gives your life a meaning and a purpose. And it is not what you have, and it is not what you lost, and it is not what you have not. Based on positive psychology, is to see what you have and not what you miss. 2, embrace uncertainty. In a VUCA world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of change and unpredictability, but you cannot stop it. So that's where we say, go with the flow. You cannot swim against the current. However, Frankl believes that embracing uncertainty and learning to adapt to new situations can help us grow and thrive. Yeah, of course, because you learn new skill. And the name of the game is every day learn a new skill. Using internet, not too much, doing carpentry, whatever, but learning something new, because learning something new opens a new neuronal connection in your brain. Instead of resisting change, try to approach it with a sense of curiosity and openness. And you will see later, we explain that in fact, resilience is not resistance. Resilience is to adapt. The quicker, the better you adapt, the more you will be resilient. Resistance will only bring you negative output. 3, practice resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setback and challenge. Frankl demonstrated remarkable resilience during his time in concentration camps, and he believes that this quality could be cultivated in anyone. That's true, in anywhere. We'll give you example. We were able to practice it in Ukraine or other situations. To build resilience, focus on developing coping skills, building a support network, and maintaining a positive outcome. That's where Sherry was saying not to be alone. And by the way, we have found during COVID and Ukraine that the way to survive for people in Ukraine is to help others. By helping others, you help yourself. It's very interesting how that system works. 4, connect with others. Frankl emphasized the importance of human connection and social support in coping with adversity. In a VUCA world, it can be easy to feel isolated and disconnect. For example, when there was COVID, you were at home, not able to speak to anybody other than through internet. But making an effort to connect with others can help us feel more grounded and supported. This could include joining a community group, volunteering, joining the GCC, or simply reaching out to friends and family. 5, found meaning in suffering. That's a tough one. Frankl believes that even in the most difficult of circumstances, there is always a possibility of finding meaning and purpose. Basically, life is throwing tests at you. And by surviving that test, by surmounting that test, it brings you stronger and it shows you that you are capable of more. You had more in you. You were able to do more than just being confined in your comfort zone. If there is something you need to forget in VUCA world, is the comfort zone. You need to learn to deal with uncomfortable situations, but to deal in a way that you can manage. This does not mean that suffering is inherently good or desirable, but rather that we can use our experience to grow and learn. And we learn by experience. When facing challenge or setback, try to look for opportunities to learn and grow from the experience. So I wanted to show you, I don't know if you know about Rabbi Dr. Twersky. He wrote, Frankel wrote, I think, 17 books. Rabbi Twersky wrote 70 books. And he wrote books, he was a psychologist too, and very famous rabbi and psychologist. And I wanted to play for you, we choose with Sherry, one of his video, which is really an eye-opener.
Lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside of a rigid shell. That rigid shell does not expand. Well, how can the lobster grow? Well, as the lobster grows, that shell becomes very confining. And the lobster feels itself under pressure and uncomfortable. It goes under a rock formation to protect itself from predatory fish, casts off the shell, and produces a new one. Well, eventually, that shell becomes very uncomfortable as it grows, right? Back under the rocks. And the lobster repeats this numerous times. The stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow is that it feels uncomfortable. Right? Now, if lobsters had doctors, they would never grow, because as soon as the lobster feels uncomfortable, goes to the doctor, gets a Valium, gets a Percocet, feels fine, never comes off its shell. So I think that we have to realize that times of stress are also times that are signals for growth. And if we use adversity properly, we can grow through adversity.
I think it goes well to the point. So we started one mental wellness society during COVID, and we helped at that time doctors, MDs, nurses, but particularly more MDs to prevent them to have a burnout or to commit suicide. And then came the war in Ukraine. And we had a member in Ukraine, and we say, what can we do for you? He said, we need help from you guys to help us to deal with that situation. So exactly, it's very funny. So we created the task force for psychology in Ukraine, and Sherry and I, we were the co-chair of that group. And exactly 1 year ago, day for day, I had a meeting with Victor, and I did not have time to change. So I had my complete Purim costume. And he wanted to ask me, he said, I need your help. I see 3,000 children arriving every night in the railway station. They sometimes don't have the parents. They need to go all in a room where everybody sleeps in the same room. When one cough, everybody cough. When one get COVID, everybody get COVID. One cry, everybody cries. What can we tell them? What can we do with those children? I am a trained psychologist for children. I don't know what to do. And actually, Sherry helped him to not lose it. And she was working with him every day to prevent him to lose it. But so I had my costume, and I say, you know, it's good because it's Purim. I tell you what you do. dress like me tomorrow. Say what? Say yeah. Laugh is helping people. Humor, laughing. He's not Jewish, by the way. So the next day, this was Victor. And guess what? First, all his colleagues were able to get energy again. They were completely down. 2, all the colleagues were able to help the children, and they were making their round with a costume, and they had result. So there is a relation here to not add seriousness and drama to trauma. And this is something we have seen, that you need to show a positive outcome no matter what.
Mhm.
It's a lesson we got ourselves. And very funny, you invite us today exactly 1 year after that personal lesson we had. So everything we spoke today is about locus of control.
Mhm.
The locus of control is, I have an internal locus of control, strong internal locus of control. I decide, I make my choice, I choose my life. If I think it, I can do it. The opposite of that is the external locus of control. I don't decide. My wife tells me when I need to take the garbage out. My boss tells me what I can say. The government tells me when I can fly, when I come out of my home. I don't know anything. And the strong people, executive, with a strong internal locus of control, shifted during COVID to external locus of control. And that explains why so many top executives could not go back to their office.
Mm.
Training. So locus of control is a key. And when we have a client, we start to look where he lost his locus of control and how to build the locus of control. Because the locus of control is you can do it. You will manage. It's in you. Because human is resilient. If you use your intellect and your intelligence, but if you are using only your primal and primary mammalian response, no, you are doomed. So we choose in all the cards, we have a system we have developed with 80 iconic cards, and we are using 2 cards today to explain you about what is important for resilience. You want to start with the first one, Sherry?
Well, yes. So this is really important. The first one, I'm doing the tunnel vision effect, or do you want me to do? Okay.
Oh, that's
This,
good.
all right. I use this a lot with clients. This is Gerard's research. So if you don't see a choice, you don't have a chance. Okay. If you see a choice, you will have a chance. What happens when you're under stress and under crisis, and this happened totally in Ukraine with people, you become a person with tunnel vision effect. And that was Gerard and Dr. Leibovitz research. You basically have a very narrow view of what your options are, or you don't even see options at all. You focus on the problem and not the solution. Okay? So, all right. So do you want to take that?
It's physiological. Mm-hmm. It's a physiological consequence of a psychological stress. And what you see the guy is only seeing the head of the cow. But in the black area is all the evading area he could use. He does not, because he's in tunnel vision effect. 100% of our clients or any psychologist come in a state of tunnel vision effect. I have seen people having a tunnel vision effect for 50 years, and they left my office saying, I don't know, something happened. I don't see the world the same way. Well, because they had what you call for a horse blinders, and the blinders are psychological and physiological. And the more you have TV, the less you sleep. And the less you sleep, the more you are stressed. And the more you are stressed, the more you have a lot of pain and you don't sleep well. So the second one, which relates to resilience, is your past does not determine your future. And your past could be the past of yesterday. Yesterday, Ukraine have been invaded. That's the past already. It has been invaded. And today, yes, it's in war. But the past is past. And the future does not exist until the present is past. So what do we see? We help the clients to live in the present, because it's only in your present that you can have an action, that you can have an handle, that you can have a choice. Only in the present.
And this is what's different from, traditional psychology. You might look at us funny and say, what do you mean? Our clients will say that. I thought psychology was all about analyzing your past. Well, you see, one of the things that we know that's important, and Dr. Franco wrote about this in his book, you need to be present, focus on the present, and aim for the future. You cannot drive your car if only driving your car is looking in the rearview mirror, right? What would happen? You get in an accident. You drive looking out the windshield. This is similar in life. Yes, the rearview mirror is there. Yes, you can check, but you can't live your life that way. And that's a choice also. Go ahead, because we only have a couple minutes and I want to wrap up.
1 minute, because we have only 4 more minutes.
There you go.
You continue?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So what do? We help people first immediately to get out of tunnel vision effect. And there is many ways for that. There is even some apps you can put on your ears, and it takes out anxiety and all those things. And we'll speak about that another day if you want.
Yeah.
But what
I think
is important is we help your past to become history. And that's the opposition of trauma. That's the opposition of stigma. It's the contrary. It's when your past becomes history, then you are available in the present. So that's only 2 cards out of 80. And if you are interested, Caroline, I was speaking with Sherry before this meeting. Maybe we could make a session going through our Evoke card and showing how they apply in everyday life, if you are interested.
That would be amazing.
All right.
Another day. So we are using mostly tools from Mindful Choice. We have books, we have online training, we have computer-based training, we have cards, we have apps, we have a lot of things, but we have also analytics. And if you contact us, it's free. We'll send you the analytics, which will help you to immediately know if you have some type of evident problem, like ADHD, like procrastination that stop you to change, like not a good balance between mind and body. And we can help, it's free, and we can help you on that.
Oh,
With that said, yeah, go on.
Yeah, let's see if we can answer some questions, Gerard.
There was a question about
the site of the test. There's one about where can you take the test? Okay, so you can go.
What happened when the, how do you get better at these elements?
Wow.
Yes, what they meant was the elements of determining your purpose. You gave a list of, like, I think it was like 5 elements.
Something we did not discuss tonight, and I hope to discuss next time we meet, is the difference between emotion and reason. So if you look at things in your life on an emotional prism, you stay emotional and you cannot find a solution because it's only emotional.
Mhm.
So what we teach people is to look at things in an unemotional way and in a more cognitive way. Again, if you change the way you think, you change the way you feel, the way you act. It's something we teach, which is
Yes.
very easy to develop. You want to say
And this
something
is-
about that?
This is something that's very integral to the therapy that I do, where we're changing how a person thinks. And we're looking at, faulty thinking patterns. Somebody had asked about rumination getting in the way of progress. That is something that we deal with in therapy very seriously. And there's a reason for rumination, and that's another session that we'd love to do.
Yeah. What happens if the client prefer everyone to make decisions for them, as they are burned out from making decisions on their own? Their decisions were based on emotion, not on reason. And yes, it will burn you out, because the first symptom of burnout, first element of burnout, is to think that things are unfair, to be discouraged, and to have your hope being hurt too many times. But it's not objective. So we can help people to look at it in an objective way, and then they found a solution. Again, it's because they don't see a solution that they are burned out. And that's an element. Two, they might be in tunnel vision. Yeah, they are in tunnel vision effect, but more than tunnel vision effect, they are in an emotional state, and that emotional state consumes them, and they ruminate and don't sleep. And that's where we are saying you need to do a mind and body activity. And I will take 1 minute to develop that. In the past, you had what we call the mental health model. But the mental health model was in fact to repair you. We came with the Mental Wellness Society with the wellness model. The wellness model, the client chooses how he wants to live his life. And it's based on prevention. But with what happened in Ukraine, with what happened every day, we are in a VUCA world, we have found we needed to go on something new. The two precedent models are not good for them for that anymore. And that's part of living in a VUCA world. You cannot apply an old rule to a new problem. You need to apply a new rule. We created a new rule, which is we completely centered the Mental Wellness Society on all our activities on well-being and resilience. And well-being is more than just your health. It's more than your mental health or physical health. It's your quality of life, it's your well-being. And that totally relies to Frankl, who despite being in a concentration camp, was able to maintain for him a well-being, and not only that, all the people in his barrack were able to resist and survive more than the other barrack. So that's also a proof in itself.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you move them from rumination?
No, wait a second. I just want to say, because we're at time, and rumination's another session that I'd love us to do. Gerard, there are some questions about how they can take the test that you referred to. And I don't know if Caroline can we can put, Gerard, put the website on in the chat room.
We can also send it out with the recording. If you guys provide me with the information,
you
I can do that.
You go here to the Mental Wellness Society.com.
Yeah.
And you scroll. And you come here to take the quiz.
Yeah. And don't worry, everyone, we will
test, and you will receive an email.
We will put it in the email with the recording. I did have one thing to ask you guys and for you to think of, and we might have to have you back to answer this question, which is, Tal Ben-Shahar talks about permission to be human, which is permission to feel what we feel. And of course, we know from oncology and cancer that a lot of times what's happened is they're frozen in their emotion. So I find it curious to talk about what you were saying in relationship to the locus of control, also letting ourselves feel, but at the same time, not getting stuck there. So perhaps
I just want to, having, worked with cancer patients for probably 15 years, I can speak to this one. This does not mean you don't feel. It's really, you ask a different question. What is this feeling trying to alert you to? What is this feeling alerting you to? Not why do you feel sad? Why are you upset? It's what is this feeling trying to tell you? What aspects of your life would you like more control over? And in fact, in cancer studies, patients, the more locus of control and hopeful they feel, the better their outcome, you see. Right. So you ask the what questions, not the why questions again. And when you turn it to what, your emotions are like alarm bells. They're telling you something. So if you look at it like that, then you move into, all right, what can we do about it? How can I feel more in control?
Right. And again, I want to talk to you a little more about it because of course we're becoming more of a robotic society. They're even talking about how we're not embodied, we're not feeling. So how to feel more and at the same time not get lost in it as well.
The answer is talk therapy is not enough in those situations. And we have found that that's why we have developed a department of resonance therapeutics, where we use different sound waves to help directly in the brain, to help the people to get out of their tunnel vision effects. So at that moment, we do combination therapeutics. We help the person to restabilize herself, and then we can talk to them because the resonance therapeutics does not heal. It's like pills. You take pills, when you stop the pills, come back. Resonance therapeutic today is the same. It works wonderful, but it does not heal. And we have been able to validate it scientifically with evidence-based research. And we have found that in conjunction with resonance therapeutics, which is different sound waves, we do mindful choice positive psychology. That's actually what we are teaching with Sherry on Thursday. And that works very well in combination because the two is in fact potentiating each other. And it works very well. Sherry, I'll let you conclude.
All right, Caroline, thank you so much for.
You're welcome. We have to have you back.
Yeah, somebody had asked that they wanted to hear Stephanie's question, and I want to, just see what that question's. Oh, manifesting. Okay, well, that's Gerard. Somebody asked about, is this the same as manifesting? So, manifesting is one way to determine your purpose and your goals. One of the things that manifesting does, as well as our, it's mindful choice in our work, is that you have a sense of agency in determining what your purpose is and where you want to be and what you want to achieve in your life. And that agency is very integral to being happy. And because that gives you the direction where you're going to go, that helps you with your choices. You don't find your purpose, okay? You determine it or create it, okay? It's not something I need to find myself. It involves yourself and your locus of control, your ability to be the person in charge of your life. Does that make sense?
To me,
Caroline?
Yes, it does. And I would love to have you guys back. Perhaps we can have you back in April to discuss the relationship. Really, I think that there is a lot of confusion between, as Tal Ben-Shahar says, emotional and action, right? Getting into action, especially in a therapeutic world. And I just want to thank you all both for your work, because I'm fascinated by this idea that we do need a new model in a new world, and that we can't apply old solutions and old remedies to a new problem. Right?
And you need to find solution for yourself.
Yeah.
Not for your neighbor, not for other people, not for what works for the TV star on TikTok, but you need to find it for you.
Yeah.
Because then you will find you. And once you found you, nothing can attack you.
And this is also leads me into something that Michael Steger and I were talking about when he was talking about meaning and purpose recently, a few weeks ago, which is, are we an individualistic society, and do we need to be more community focused? And how does this work help us be both strong as individuals and strong and looking out for our community, our country, our world as well? Because both are needed, especially at this time. We are facing such, such challenging situations globally. Yeah. So I'd love to have you back. You guys, don't anybody else? I see lots of hands raised. Yes, both arms, both legs. To talk about these very important questions, because I think you guys are on the cutting edge of solutions.
And we can do more than 90 minutes if you want. I see.
We can do a workshop.
All right.
2 hours. We can do 90 minutes. We can easily, trust me, Sherry was holding herself many times during this presentation.
I know her well. All right, everyone. Thank you. Feel free to unmute. Thank our speakers. We have just, we've gone over a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for sticking in there with us. It doesn't matter. We needed to. That happens sometimes. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hope you
Thank you.
fantastic